Show you in just a second. Okay, let's attach back on there. I may have to loosen it up a bit later to get a good extension of the cable line once we start attaching everything back. Let me get you a good angle so you can see the rest of the rotor and calipers. Okay, so this is a better angle for the rotor installation. Now what we're going to do is install the new rotor from StopTech. Okay, so this is a better angle for the rotor installation. Now what we're going to do is install the new rotor from StopTech. So this is the new rotor from StopTech. It has the slotted lines here again, and if you see it has this shine coating on it, we have to remove that. It's like the oil, so that way it doesn't rust while it's in storage. We're gonna use brake cleaner and a rag and clean that off because you don't want your brake pads touching that oil. It will not have any stopping power. So I'm gonna do that right now. Basically, all you have to do is clean the sides. You don't have to care about the center hub part. This part here, leave the oil on there if you can, because again, that's going to help the corrosion process be much slower, or the rust. You also want to get the back, and that's what's coming off, that oil. Try to get inside the slotted lines too, because that also has oils in there, and clean it until you don't have any more dirt coming off of it. All right, let's install this guy. You want to get the right you want to make sure you align the screw holes also. So it's going to take a little time to see where they're at. Let's go the other one. See if this one shows. Yep, this is it. So there's a screw hole here and one here. Some people say not to install these screws. Not sure why. If you don't install it, yes, if you put the lug nuts and the wheel, your rotor doesn't move. The minute you take it off, this moves freely, even with the caliper on. There's pros and cons to it. I say always use the screws. Just put anti-seize in them, so that way they're easier to loosen when you have to remove the rotor. The reason why I say that is because you see that the engineers did their R&D and worked on it to install this on there, so they know better, to be honest. Install it back and you probably won't get any brake warpish or uncomfortable pedal feel with vibrations if you install this back on there. Before installing the rotor, we're going to take it off one more time. We want to put anti-seize on this hub and also around the hub area, so that way it doesn't stick. I am going to clean the center hub just a little bit more. So what we're going to use is Permatex anti-seize lubricant. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just basically take a little dab, not so much, and just go around the hub here. So that way the rotor doesn't stick to the hub if I ever have to take it off again. Okay. And what I do is that I just put little dabs on the side here. So again, it doesn't stick to the rotor later on. It'll be much easier to remove, and I don't have to worry so much about it. Same thing, I'm going to do it to the screws. Let's align this back. Okay, that's not it. Let's align it this way. And that's it. For the screws, I'm just going to put a little dab on it. So a small dab. Nothing OD. So if we can see it here, just a little pinch on it. And put the screws in. See which one aligns perfectly with it. It's this guy right here. And same thing I am going to do with the other one. Little tap on it. Oops, just fell. Make sure it's clean. Little dap on it. Right, that's enough. And get the perfect location for it. Right there. Dang it, it's falling out. So don't worry about getting the rotor dirty with the anti-seize. You could always clean that. That's what we're going to do. Using the same impact Phillips with the Japanese adapter. Doesn't have to be super tight, just hand tight. And that's about it. The anti-seize does the rest there. Take a little bit of brake fluid and clean it up. Different rag and clean the rotors just in case you touch the rotors with the anti-seize. And that's clean. That's good to go. All right. So moving on to the installation of the calipers, because the rotor is set. We're going to start with the caliper bracket. And that's going to go, ooh, didn't want to hit it like that, but that's going to go like this. And it's just going to be the installation or the steps from the previous episode to install it back in reverse. So we're just going to put that there and get the bolts, which I have right in front of me here. And while we're talking here and we're installing this caliper bracket, I'm just going to put the video here of what I was doing on the passenger side. I did the passenger side already. and you can see how awesome it came out. All right, I'm gonna also put anti-seize on these, like I did on the passenger side, so that way a little easier to take off if I ever need to take it off. Just a little dap, not so much. What you don't want to put is Loctite, because then you're in trouble for real to try to take it off. Some people vouch for Loctite. I say use anti-seize. It's not a problem. Your caliper bolts are not going to loosen up because of anti-seize, especially if you torque them correctly. So let's put some anti-seize on there. And to torque the caliper bracket, it is 80 foot-pounds, which I'm going to show you how I do that. Put a little dap on it. That's enough. And you're going to thank me later. I'm putting the anti-seize on your caliper bolts, because this is, again, 80 foot-pounds. So there we go. That's good. I'm just going to grab the torque wrench. Set your torque wrench to the correct spec, which is, again, 80 foot-pounds. It's already set for me. Every torque wrench is different, so I'm not going to show you this. It's just basically aligning it with the foot-pounds. This takes some force to get that 80 foot-pounds on here. Sometimes you just got to maneuver it. Okay. See which angle's better here to get this. Let's take some force. Let's try from the top again. There we go. That's 80 foot-pounds. Let's do the bottom one here. Okay, same thing one more time. We get a good footing here. Okay, hearing the clicks, that means that you reach the 80 foot-pounds. So now we're going to install the brake pads. Moving away from the anti-seize, we're going to go for the Permatex ceramic brake park lubricants. This is what you're going to use for lubricating your brake pads, brake calipers, brake caliper pins. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to lubricate the bottom, and be careful on getting this on the rotor. If you do, just clean it off. It's no big deal. It's not like the end of the world. You just don't want to leave it on there because it's dangerous. So I'm just going to lubricate the bottom here. Okay. Lubricate the top. Okay. See, I got some on the caliper. I mean, on the brake rotor, that's okay. Anywhere that the brakes have movements or brake pads have movements, you want to lubricate. It's just going to be a much smoother braking process for you, because you won't hear a lot of noise and vibration. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to grab the hardware that the StopTech comes with. It's pretty cool that the StopTech comes with new hardware for the caliper bracket. Just going to install it there. Just make sure it secures down and on the top also. Again, I got a little bit on the rotor there. It is fine. Just gonna grab my tissue here, spin this guy a little bit, and just clean it off. I'm gonna pick up the camera so I could show you what this looks like in just a sec. Okay, that's good. Let me turn off this camera or move it this way so you can see it. The pins are not properly seating well, but once we have the rotor, I'm sorry, the brake pads on there, it will be seated well. For the rotors, you want to do the same. You want to put some lubricant on the corners here where they touch with the hardware. The one that has this metal piece, which is what makes noise when your brake pads are running low, always goes in the rear. Just remember that, always in the rear. So brake pads are in. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to connect the brake caliper. I'm just going to put some lubricant on this side where it meets the brake pads and a little bit on the piston here because it touches the rear of the brake pads. Just going to smudge it around a little bit, less noise, and connect the brake caliper to the brake caliper bracket. Oh, sorry. Just one more step is to lubricate the pins, caliper pins. I'm gonna clean the old dirt off, the old grease, lubricate it with new grease. Just like this. Install it on the back. There we go. Make sure that it's resistance and it comes back out. That's good. There on install the caliper bracket. And from here on, it's just basically easy. Just putting the 2 bolts for the caliper bracket, anti-seize it, and then the brake line stainless steel to the caliper, and we're all set. So I'm going to stop it here since the video is long, and I'll see you on the time lapse for the rear and an outro. So now we're going to work on the rear brakes and get these updated with the StopTech upgrade. Everything is ready. I painted the dust shield, and I got you a B-roll of a close-up on how to remove the rear brake lines. Basically, you just need, again, the 10 millimeter flare nut wrench. Give it a few spins. Make sure you put WD-40 on it, and then just remove the bracket that is holding the brake lines to the chassis and to the suspension. It's pretty quick. Once the brake line is removed, now we're going to start reinstalling the rotor for the rear, the brake pads, and the calipers. Let's get that started, and I'm going to put you in a different angle so you can see me working, and I'm going to do a quick time lapse so we can make this video shorter. And we're finally done. That concluded the brake segment. We finally finished all 4 corners. Basically, new updated calipers, the StopTech slotted rotors, the StopTech braided steel brake lines, and the StopTech sport brake pads. Everything is pretty much done. As you can see, I'm going to give you an angle of all 4 corners, starting from the passenger rear and the driver's side rear, also the passenger front and the driver's side front. Everything looks super flawless under there, and it works perfectly fine. The next episode I'm gonna have is basically doing a brake bleed to show you what that consists of. It should be an easy step, not a long episode, but stay tuned for that. Basically, I have here on my table things that I decided to keep that I'm not throwing away. Like, I'm not throwing away the front and rear rotors. They're brand new. They still have a lot of life on them. I'm having them as backup. Also kept a couple miscellaneous parts like the brake lines and a caliper bracket and some bolts. I also kept the brake pads because they are pretty new. They have a lot of meat. Um, Pause. Basically, what I did when I purchased this car was that I changed rotors and pads just to drive it, just to see the feel of it, and didn't drive it for that much. I drove it for maybe 1.5 oil changes, so 3,000 or about 5,000, 4,500 miles around there, and decided that, hey, everything looks good, everything feels good. Let me store it, and when I'm ready to update it like I am, I'm gonna bring it out. Uh, I do still have the STR 600 racing brake fluid here. I'm gonna get to that in the next episode. So that is it. Everything is ready with the brake segment. Stay tuned to see what other performance parts I have in mind. I'm gonna keep the car raised up because we're still gonna hit the wheel well. That's a hint, and continue from there. If you want to see the next updates that are available, hit up my TikTok and Instagram page at dro_asap8.s.a.p_garage. And that should give you a sneak peek of what I'm going to have to next for the next episodes. Remember, I'm going to be launching episodes every Wednesdays and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Click on the notification so that way you can get notified when those are out. And please like, comment, subscribe so that way I know that you like these videos or dislike these videos or have comments and feedback or want to praise me for what I did or just say some meaningful comments. I really don't care. I just want to see some comments there so that way it helps me bring you entertainment and allows me to continue this journey with this car. So I guess I'm going to conclude it here. This was your boy Dro, and I'm out. Peace.